Back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Today's guest was recently recognized by the Jax Business Journal as one of the top real estate agents in Jacksonville, Florida. She is an expert in moving to St. Johns County / St. Augustine. After being a wedding planner, she took her people in relationship skills to real estate with a goal to be forever real estate agent for every client she works with. Let's welcome this momentum champion with Momentum Realty, Demi Judd, to the show. Welcome.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Glad you can make it over here this morning.
Thank you for the invite.
A little earlier than normal as we've got pressures on. This ever-changing market, and we got to be moving and grooving. But I want really interested in. I was listening to your previous podcast you were on, and listening to, which was good because it gave me some kind of some, I will call it color commentary in between the things, because you have a passion for it, and I'm going to dig into that today because I think as I tell every guest that comes on. Whether it's tomorrow or 3 years from now, one of your clients, or you mentioned possibly building a team on that show, someone who wants to work with you, they can listen to this show and learn a little bit about Demi.
Yep.
So let's kick off the show. Tell me a little bit. You're from this area. Tell me whereabouts. Where'd you go to school?
I went to school at St. Augustine High School.
Oh,
I graduated from St. Augustine High and was born at Flagler Hospital. I can't be any more local than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, right in the northern area, so I'm right near Palencia.
Yeah. I have a bunch of family living in the Palencia area. But you remember, although you're not that old, but Cole Slate's not that old either. And he remembers a lot of the roads like 210 being dirt.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was driving through Silverleaf yesterday, and I was like, this was dirt. Like, I was like, this was trees. Like, I'm a deer. Like, it just didn't make sense. I was like, this is not how it was when I was a kid. Like, Fee's Pizza wasn't there, obviously.
Right.
But, like, even my neighborhood, we didn't have a Publix. Like, when I remember not having a Publix at Palencia. Mm-hmm. And so it's just
nice.
You
might even remember Palencia wasn't even there.
Yeah.
Because the Food Line was in there first, mm-hmm. right? And then that went out of business, and how much that's changed. But World Golf Village sort of popped up, but then it's still in an infancy stage. Mm-hmm. That whole sector along International, was it International Parkway? Is that, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what they call it. So, when you mentioned on the previous podcast, and I'll probably refer to that a bunch of times because I was listening to it for the last hour or so. How do you, when you're working with clients, going to St. Augustine High, which I know is, with the new high schools going up, there's a lot of people in, Palencia, and the challenge of, where your new home's at, I assume is slated for St. Augustine High.
It's Nice now.
Nice now, mm-hmm. at the moment anyway, right?
You're correct. It might change tomorrow.
Yeah, it can. That's the crazy thing that's going on. But a lot of people were up in arms about St. Augustine High, and when Palencia, they were talking about kids were going to go there to St. Augustine High. When you're working with clients and dealing with, because that's a difficult situation, and I don't understand. Yes, St. Augustine High is the oldest school in town, mm-hmm. in the county. Okay, great. But I'm sure as the county is trying to take care of that as upgrade, because the load's going to be put on St. Augustine High as Nice has already been blown out. Mm-hmm. How do you, when you're working with a client, and I'm sure there's other agents that are working with, how do you have that discussion? Or even, do they even know a lot of times, or are they just getting like hearsay from their friends, like, oh, you don't want to move there because the kids will have to go, they have kids that will have to go to this school or that school. And not talking about St. Augustine in general, but when you're dealing as a real estate agent, dealing with like
schools.
What schools,
Yeah, typically, so I kind of protect myself because there's only so much legally we can say.
Right.
I have local guides for people from out of state, and so I create the local guides, and it actually has QR codes for the school ratings. And I'm open about how I feel as a parent about the school my child goes to or one I've been to. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, right now I'm going to talk as a parent. I really love Palencia Elementary. My son goes there. And then I really love...
The only problem with Palencia Elementary is you can't get the golf carts to the door. They stop you at the circle there.
They do now?
Yeah. Well, I don't know that. My wife's sister lives in there and cousin lives in there, and I get you. They can can't go by that circle. You can't actually drive all the way unless they've changed that.
I mean, I don't drive my son to school anymore. He takes the bus. I've seen, there's 2 entrances.
Yeah.
I've seen Kensington do it. Kensington will bring their little golf carts, but I don't know though. That also, I don't drive him to his school. I'm not going through all that. He's not in kindergarten anymore. Take the bus. But yeah, I really give my experience as a mom. I have had a client ask me about St. Augustine High before, but I went for Center for the Arts. I'm very outgoing if you don't know me.
Yeah.
But so I was in show choir and I was in all of that. So that made sense for my family to stay there. And not like we had a ton of options like they do now.
Did you perform it was like around Christmas time a year ago at Flagler with they had like all the alumni?
I wanted to.
You wanted?
I just didn't have the time. My dad had a stroke and a heart attack, and so I was a little preoccupied.
Yeah, so they've had a history of the arts or, the music program there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Jeff Dodd did amazing.
Yeah. So anyway, but having this conversation, you got to tread lightly. You don't want to violate any laws, but like you said, you speak from just experience from what you've seen and leave it at that.
Yep. Just complete. And they feel pretty good about that. They're like, where would you move? And that's always a kind of safe gray question that they're asking. And I was like, I would move to this area and I like this. And I even posted a video recently, like, these are the neighborhoods I would move into and here's why. And that kind of put a blanket over it to understand.
Right.
But I tell people too, like, new areas mean new schools mean new teachers and new curriculum. And I was like, so that's always a really good sign. I was like, don't feel overwhelmed. That's a brand new school working out the kinks. It's not like an HOA.
Yeah.
And so they feel a little bit better, like, okay, yeah, you're right. And I was like, they don't have time to have all the ratings that everyone else does. And I was like, and it's a whole different, I was like, you just have to look at the areas, look at the neighborhoods, do your research. That's how I try to stay like, don't go there.
Are you, you made me think of this quick because we're talking about, what you can and cannot say or how you say it basically as a real estate agent. I find it humorous. Like, you can't call the master bedroom anymore. I mean,
one of my clients just texted me. He's like, hey, so in the master. And I was like, which room? And I was like, you mean the primary? And he's just like, oh. He's like, you guys have dumb rules here in Florida. He's in New York. And I was like, it's not Florida. It's just in general.
Yeah. Or the Jack and Jill bathroom. The sharing the kids.
Oh, you
room.
Can't call it that?
That's what I was told. I don't know. What's wrong with Jack and Jill? I don't know.
They ran up a hill. That's what happened. That's what it was.
All right. So you graduate from St. Augustine High. You go on a little bit why, because you did tell the story of why you chose the college you did a little bit with Maurice and Chris, but what were you thinking from a career-wise as, 19, 20, 21 years old? What was Demi thinking she was going to do?
Oh, Demi graduating, and when she was in college, she was going to do missions, and she was going to change people's lives and travel the world, and that's what she was going to do. She was engaged to an Italian too. Yeah, fun fact. I really wanted to live in Europe, and I wanted to serve in Europe, and that's what my passion was, and it didn't stop. It just looks different now.
Yeah.
And so I'm very thankful. I wanted to come back and work for my church, all these different things, but life is expensive, and it was right in that heat of like my church was going through a change, and I was like, you guys can't really provide what I need financially. And then so it kind of just went to like, I fell into wedding planning.
Right.
Just when I came back home, I was like, okay, the engagement didn't work out. And you can't marry a man you just met. So I fell into that.
So that's another story for another show.
Yeah. Which I actually did. But that's another story. But I ended up okay.
She just came home just looking for a job.
Yeah. And my neighbor was like, hey, I have someone in the wedding industry. And I was like, cool. I've always wanted to be a wedding planner. Let's go. I watch 4 weddings every night with my dad. And I met her. She's like, I do other events. I only need an assistant. I was like, no problem. Started working with her, and we did our first wedding together 2 weeks after I started. And I was like, you gestured
to your dad to remember. Your dad was a minister or something?
No. So my dad, he acts like one. But he's, my dad, my best friend. He's the one who brought our family to Jesus. Like, he's just an amazing man.
Right. But you said you were watching 4 weddings with him every night. What were you gesturing there?
No, we just that he literally does everything with me. Like we're best friends.
Oh, you mean, what did you say?
We watch. So I gestured to our four weddings because I was in 4 weddings. So it's like a huge show about competitions for brides.
Okay.
I was in it. My bride won. So that's like fast forward into being a wedding planner. I met a bride and groom and they're like, hey, so weird thing. We got invited to be a part of 4 weddings. And I was like, sweet. When do you start? And they're like, we don't know. We need 3 other brides. And I was like, what? And they're like, can you find 3 other brides? I called so many venues that day because I was like, I can be on 4 weddings. And so without having, to pay for it. And
I personally don't know about this show, but I imagine if you're getting married, this is something you would watch to see what the local latest trends and everything.
It's on TLC. It's great. Look up the St. Augustine one. I'm on there. It's at the Treasury. It won. Obviously, it was at the Treasury. So,
So you had to find 3 other brides fairly locally.
Yes.
Okay.
That were getting married around the same time.
And then what was the actual basis of the competition?
The competition is like they kind of rate each other. It's like their dress, their venue, their decor, their food.
So what they choose. Or what their wedding planner helps them.
Like if you were getting married, it'd be like, your dress isn't that great. So it just kind of like I judge your wedding and rate you. And the winner with the more points gets to go on like a honeymoon. So they went to Italy.
Interesting. Okay, well that if you're wedding planning, I'm sure that's something you want to be part of.
It's a big thing.
Yeah.
I would not want to be part of it now.
So from that, I mentioned in the intro, because you mentioned in your bio about being focused on the customer oriented, and that's what did it come naturally for you, or was when you were observing what's going on in the wedding planning, what you actually have to deal with some of these? I imagine you had some bridezillas, right?
Yeah, and moms. The moms were actually the worst. Like brides were not even. It was the moms of the brides.
Yeah.
And really just learning how to hold your tongue. I mean, I've been customer service since I was 13. So like I already knew how to hold my tongue pretty well. I just make a joke and so it makes it easier. But definitely it taught me a lot about, right there, you're basically doing real estate. Like I'm trying to calm them down. I got calls in the middle of the night saying, do I love him? And I was like, oh, I'm a therapist. Cool. And like just didn't realize I got all the certification by being a wedding planner. And so it's crazy because now I do it and now I get phone calls from people from Alaska at 1 a.m. saying like, hey, is this our house? Like, and so it's just funny how like it went so well, which is funny because most people think that the two wouldn't really collide well. They collide great. They're 2 very big moments in life. One's just way more expensive than the other, surprisingly. One lasts longer. Well,
I don't know how you choose that investment. One is more expensive, but at least it has value to it. The one-day event,
it's hard.
You might as well just light a torch to it.
Well, one of my lead gen is doing bridal shows that I used to be a part of as a wedding planner, and I have consults with brides and grooms like, hey, is this what you want to do? And I've had ones that literally dropped all their wedding planning and bought a house. And so it's just having that conversation. I call it marriage or mortgage, and you get to choose. And so we kind of have that conversation like, is this the best option, or how can I prep you?
Are you welcomed at all these shows?
I am. I really am. So the person who runs it's Premier Bride is actually my friend from when I was in the industry. And so we got really close, and I was like, do you think I could be like at your show? Like, would I do well? She's like, actually, if any real estate agent was going to be there, you could probably do it.
I've sold cell phones at wedding shows.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of sketchy, though.
It was back in the day when they were going from analog to digital phones, they were still trying to get a handset in everybody's hand, and there were still a lot of areas of the country who didn't have cell coverage, kind of like in the middle of Silverleaf, where you drop every call. Right? I don't know why that is, and if you're in the restaurants in the middle of Silverleaf, there's no coverage in those places. But anyway, but they were trying to get handsets out there, so we were just wherever we could put a table up and say, hey, we're here, because the networks, they wanted to get the handsets in everybody's hand. So I've been out in some real boonies. I remember we did this was a county fair. I mean, we killed it. I mean, hundreds of cell phone because you get all these people that travel in. They got their horses or whatever. They're out in horse country, 20, 30 miles outside of any subdivision or anything like that, and they're driving in, going to county fair, and they don't have a cell phone now. And that was the time period. Of course, you were just being born at that time, so yeah.
They're gonna be like, she's like 20, isn't she? Like, they're gonna think I'm so young.
But I mean, you're still regularly doing them several times a year.
Yeah, I just did one.
Yeah.
2 Sundays ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
You never know. And what are people thinking about after they get married?
That's the next step.
Yeah, the next step is buying a home. So why not get? It might not happen next month. It might be a year or two, but you're getting in front of them now. You start dripping on them.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I think it's when I heard you say that, it just triggered my thoughts of the past. But it's brilliant. That's what those people are planning. They're not only planning their wedding. Their next plan is their house.
Yep.
And the kid and that kind of all that stuff. So what transitioned you into what happens at wedding that now you start thinking about real estate?
It was a few things. So I met my husband in 2018, and he had a 4-year-old, and I wanted to be a mom, and I worked 100 hours a week. Like it wasn't only wedding planning my boss did. It was also.
So you wanted to be a real estate agent?
Yeah, hold on. That's not. I fell into a lot of things I've done in life, but definitely fell into that. I had a friend who was like, "Hey." He owns a brokerage now too, so he's like, "Hey, if you ever want to come over," but he's like, "Hey, do you want to be my assistant?" And I was like, "For a real estate agent who's like successful, sure. Like I don't know what that looks like, but let's try." And I went in to like meet him in person, to have coffee about it. He's like, "I don't think it's gonna work," and I was like, "It's not gonna work?" And I was like, "How did I get fired before I got hired? Like, am I okay?" And he's like, "No, I think that you're gonna kill it. Like you would kill it as a real estate agent. You'd be my TC." You'd quit and do it yourself. And I was like, can't afford to do that. So I left the wedding industry, served for a little bit to figure out like serving tables, had a baby, and decided 4 months postpartum, I'm going to get my real estate license because why not throw that on top of everything? And I just went for it. And he's like, you're going to kill it. And he's like, but just give it like 3 to 5 years to pop off. And I was like, all right, fair.
Right.
He lied. It did not take that long. And I have been like, now I have a coach. And so I've been like having help. Like, I'm like, this wasn't supposed to happen. Like, I was like, I had 3 to 5 years to get my shit together.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I fell into it. It was really just a friend saying, hey, you should do this.
Well, it's very interesting. I was at a mastermind last Friday over at Landmark with a bunch of agents randomly all over. They were talking about teams and, whether it's a team of real estate agents or a team with, meaning you have support, transaction coordinators or whatever. And one of the comments was, don't hire a transaction coordinator whose thought is they want to become a real estate agent, because they'll do it for a month or two. They'll see the checks that the real estate agents are getting and say, I can do that too. And they're off. That's not the mentality of a transaction coordinator.
Yep.
Yeah.
My TC is amazing. She actually used to be a real estate agent. Hated it. So now she's TCing and she doesn't mind.
Perfect.
She's like, I don't want to be in your shoes, so I'll do this.
Yeah. It happens in the loan officer world too. They come in, they don't know anything about, they don't even know how to spell mortgage. They're an assistant for a couple months, and then they see what the mortgage loan officers can make, and they're, I want to be, and they don't have the experience yet, and it's a little different. I think real estate is one of those things. If you do get under the right tutelage, mentor, coach, or whatever, you can accelerate very quickly.
100%.
There's probably a very minor percent that actually just get it alone, but they generally come from a previous career and just know how to like organize themselves and just already, and what to do so that they run it like a business and they go. But speak of that, you were a young person still at that time. You still are. And, so did this person become a mentor to you? Did you work side by side, or did you go somewhere else to hang your?
I went somewhere else. I'm someone who I like to try to figure things out on my own. And I call it riding coattails. Like I don't want to ride someone else's coattail. And I ended up going with a smaller brokerage in the area, and the brokerage let me bring my baby. So my daughter literally was at trainings. She'll be a professional soon. She's going to be my assistant one day.
She's already got the hours in clocked.
She does. She does. So I ended up going, I was at Red Zone. And so I started there. I was friends with Alyssa and her family. And so we all got very, very close. And so I was able to start off my career there a little bit where I could take my time and also just had a baby. So enjoy like being a mom. And that was really great. I joined their team, really built up kind of what I wanted real estate to look like for me. And I knew that marketing was a very good push for me to pursue. And then that's when I fell into my team there, literally.
Hold that thought for a second. You said you don't like to ride on someone else's coattails.
Yes.
And I imagine you've had thousands of girlfriends ask you about real estate.
Yes.
You know, should I get into real estate? Is real estate? Yeah, I mean, all the time. And your recommendations to them, would you recommend, especially, you know, who you had some, I don't know if natural abilities, you know, but like you said, your customer service, you were doing the wedding planning, you were already dealing with people's emotions and that sort of thing. Yeah, you bring in the technical part of, you know, you got to go take the class, you got to know if, you know, you can take training on how to fill out the contract. I mean, those things, you know, average person, because it's designed for average people to pass those things. If they put the effort in, they should be able to pass the test and know how to fill out a contract. But the other human skills that you brought from wedding planning and so forth, not everyone has those right away. They kind of have to learn, as you did a little bit even before you got into real estate. You already had built those experiences up. Right. So when it comes to go back to the riding coattails, would you recommend, you know, one of your girlfriends, hey, yeah, or you've got enough experience, ride my coattails, follow me around. I think you actually mentioned in that podcast I was listening to you in, I forget, was it your brother or something? Someone related to you wanted to get into business. You said, follow me for a day or two. Yeah. And they did. Would you recommend that to one of your girlfriends that they really wanted to do it?
I do. Yeah. Every single time now. Because also, even since that podcast, I got a coach. And so I told her what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. I actually added a buyer's agent onto my team and to try to test the waters to see what I'm looking for. And I learned a lot through my coach. But it went from like the beginning of me being like, do not join real estate. Like just whatever you do. But then so many people kept asking because they'll see success and they're like, I want that. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if you know what comes with this palette. And so it's just, I had a friend who, I've had a couple friends, but every time they're like, I want to do real estate, I'm going to get my real estate license. I'm like, follow me around for a day. And I was like, just follow me around for a day. Or I even went to Universal with one of them, answered my phone every single second. And she's like being, like, one of them was being immature and like yelling, like, why are you? And I was like, this is a business. We can't be friends if you can't understand that I take my job very seriously. Like I could be at Disney, I could be at Universal with you. I still run a business, like no matter what. And so that's where it kind of clicked for her that she's like, I don't want to do this. And I was like, no, I told one customer, I was like, I'm a Disney princess. My entire life is out there. I was like, I don't have an option to hide behind a gate. I get to come home and shut my door and that's it. Like that's where I get to hide because my neighbors, everyone's a customer. And so you want to make sure everyone still has the same experience. The branding still matches. So I let everyone know the truth behind that. And I was like, sometimes I count hourly. I had one seller who's like, I don't think that I should pay you XYZ. And I was like, can I tell you the hours that I've done? And I literally wrote it down. I was like, I'm barely making minimum wage with everything that I've done since we've been listed. And so I think the reality of that sinks in for people when they actually realize how much work goes into this.
Yeah, no, I've challenged agents because in your gift bag there is a notebook from the bank for you to take note to jot down like a lawyer does every thing that you do. Because I don't think again, people don't realize the 8 o'clock call. You're on a Saturday or holiday at Disney, and you're over there in the corner trying to take a call where hopefully it's not too noisy, right? So, because there's drama going on, there's people's emotions intact here.
Yep.
Yeah, people don't realize that. Reminds me, I'm going to take a pause here for a little sponsorship, which you have one of these mugs in your gift bag there, are from Remy Graphics. They make these beautiful laser. She does a lot more than just, I'm going to put her, RemyGraphics.com. Dunya, yes, yours is in there. This is just one of the products she has. Any other laser engraved, and she had trophies and stuff posted there. You've got your nice Citadel blue there, a Carolina blue mug. But yeah, there you go. They will do one-offs. So if you have a customer and you want to do like, hey, John and Sally, established whatever, maybe the wedding type of thing, put your name on the back. I always recommend it. They'll never throw it away, right?
Yeah.
But she'll do one-offs, so you don't have to order 20 of them. You can order, say, hey, I need 2 of these, put my customer's name for closing gift or whatever.
No, I love that.
Yeah. So thank you, Dunya Taylor with Remy Graphics. All right. So where we left off. So
real estate friends.
Yeah, friends in the real estate. Yeah. So riding the coattails. It's important that, talking to a lot of the great agents that have gotten off to a quick start that I've talked to, if you don't, some of our, like I said, have that natural, because they maybe worked in corporate America for 20 years. I think a Pamela Hoffman, she comes in, she had a very regimented, and this is how she's going to run her business, where, not everyone came for that. And you need to, I think it was great that you offered to show them before they even went and invested in getting their license. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, I don't think the average person understands, and I think this whole NAR settlement garbage that's going on is going to have to raise everyone's game, because you're going to have that conversation like you had with that gentleman when he said, I don't want to pay you as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, and it's not bad. Like, some people it does work for. I'm not saying that riding coattails is bad, because it's smart. Mm-hmm. Even the girl who's now working with me, she's like, I want to be like you. And I have a ton of agents who meet me, and I was like, all right, well, I think, and that's where me and my coach, I think, have realized, like, I don't know if it's a team I'm really looking for, like a Demi Judd team. Like, I don't know if that's what I want, more than I'm realizing more of what the passion is. And the passion is, like, making better agents. And I was like, talking to my coach, I was like, I felt this for 2 years now, but I had to have, like, obviously I need to have sales and stuff that backs me up that my methods work. Mm-hmm. And I was like,
do you think they go after you because you make it look easy?
Oh, they think it's so easy.
Well, because there's some people that you know how much work you're actually doing, and then I think some of us are when no one's listening, right? We're cursing it out, and then we turn around and we smile, and that's all they see is the smile, right? Yeah. They don't see you sweating.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Or the crying in your car.
Yes.
They don't see that. Where you're just like, no, this is wrong. I'm like, let me cry. Okay, yeah. Good. But I think, like, the future of Demi is actually, like, more on the coaching side, and really mentoring agents to be themselves and be better. Because I feel like so many people, like, I've heard it so many times in the industry, which I'm flattered by all means, but I'm just like, I've always felt like I was held to a standard for my parents, and then people are like, oh, but I'm not Demi Judd. And I was like, no, you're not, thank God. Like, I was like, really, honestly. And I was like, I want you to be you. Like, I don't want you to be me. I want to help you create real estate in your own way. Real estate doesn't have to be a cold call or an open house or a door knock. And I was like, it has to be you. You're real estate. Like, why can't, like, you sell yourself? Like, not weirdly, but sell yourself, because, like, that's what clients know what they're getting. My videos are me. Like, I'm funny. I make jokes, but I take my job very seriously. And, like, I know my information. I know my stuff. And, like, helping people, I've started doing, like, within my brokerage, little consults with other agents for niches. And I'm like, what do you like to do? Like, you could make your hobbies real estate. Like, you can. Like, everyone at my gym at 12 o'clock when I go at night, everyone knows I'm in real estate.
Yeah.
Every single person. And so people ask me questions about real estate. So, like, that is, like, a hobby I do, but they know I'm in real estate. I'm not a secret agent.
Yeah.
But just being able to use your niche and things that you love. I love weddings, so I do weddings still.
there's several things I want you to write them all down because I'm going to forget them all that you mentioned there. Um, the answering the phone at Universal or wherever you're Disney or whatever, and your girlfriend sitting there going, "Why are you answering the phone?" and explaining real estate. I think everyone in the real estate, mortgage loan officers, are the same way because we for the most part cater to you unless we have a call center. Cater to the agents. So when the agents are calling you, we've got to answer the phone. I mean, even if it's 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, and you're cooking steaks, you got to still pick up the phone because the agent's calling you for a reason. Yeah. Something's going down, and but I think a lot of people who aren't in the industry understand that we live our lifestyle. Yeah, I have the ability to leave here at 1 o'clock so I can take my son to his basketball practice at 2:30 this afternoon. But my phone is still hot and my laptop is with me. If something needs to go down if I need to run home because I'd rather work on the bigger screens than my laptop screen, to run a quick pre-approval so that the agent can move forward with the transaction. The people. I don't think they understand we live our lifestyle. When you go to the gym, I think Jordan Faria said it great, or it wasn't Jordan, it was Erica Harding. She wears her, something real estate T-shirt at her son's ball games. I'm sure Jordan probably does too because she's got little ones too. They're at their T-ball games or whatever, their Little League games, and they're sitting there, and so people are seeing her, and they, again, it's an easy subject to talk about. Yep. Everyone wants to talk about. Everyone wants a roof over their head, and one way, whether they own a home or they just say we're thinking about what's going on in the market. It's an easy icebreaker to say, hey, how's business been? Because they know that's the business you're in, and they know what subject they're going to be talking about. Yep. So they open it there. It's an easy go. So we live our lifestyle. So whether we're sitting there at 7:30 in the evening at the Suns ball game, and in between innings, you strike up a conversation. You're doing business. It's fun. You might have a little cocktail in your hand, but you are starting business because, like I said, people aren't walking in and saying, I want to buy a house today, and 5 minutes later they're signing a die. It doesn't happen that way. There's generally most people are doing a little more due diligence, and they're looking at different homes. It's a relationship that might just be a week. It might be a year or two. Who knows? Yeah. And,
I've had some of those.
Yeah. Well, right now, for sure, with everything slowing down, it's not like it was in 2020 where you literally, getting hundreds of offers or multiple teens of offers there on a house within minutes. But I wanted to migrate into, you were saying something there, being authentic. Mm-hmm. And I want you to touch a little bit on your evolution of social media. Because you were touching about it with Maurice and Chris there a little bit, but I think it's important for everyone to understand because it's a journey you need to start. Mm-hmm. So might as well just start it today. Yeah. But where I look at your Instagram right now, I'm like, wow, this, she knows what she's doing, mm-hmm. but that wasn't the way it always was. Yeah.
If you scroll far enough down, there's parts of me that's like, I want to delete it, but I'm like, no, like it is the evolution of Demi being who she is.
Right.
And oh my gosh, when I first was told I was on my team and they're like, you need to post videos. And I was like, I don't know what to talk about. I've never closed a deal. And I was like, I have to make, okay. And so they're cringy. Like, they're like, hi, I'm Demi Judd. Like, it's very awkward or like just weird. And then it started going from like, I'll just do whatever's on Keeping Current Matters, which is a great place to start, by the way, if you don't know what to talk about. Keeping Current Matters, like 100%. I don't know if I can say that. But great blog to read, to talk about, because it's very informative and very accurate information. Or to even call your local lender and like get information on the rates and like where it's going, where the predictions are, because have some information rather than just saying whatever's being blasted, not on a resourceful site. But definitely going out there and like really knowing it too. I started doing new construction. I was like, I'm selling a lot of new construction. Get out there. If I know the neighborhoods, I have knowledge. And if I know things that people don't know, I can give information. And then it started, when I started getting my clientele, my questions were, what were your concerns about moving here? What did you like about moving here? What's pros, what's cons, what's questions you wish you had answered? And I literally just started collecting sheets of paper of questions. And then I started creating videos and content based on those questions. Like schools are a big concern for people. Mm-hmm. what schools are coming to the area, how many people are in those schools, how many are they planning to build, is there another one, is it going to rezone, because it rezones every 5 seconds.
To touch because I think that part, I don't want to say it's easy, but if you want topics, I mean, you can go on Chat GPT and say, give me 10 topics, and choose a couple, and you could do that every day if you wanted to. The big challenge is actually physically getting over your fear.
Yes.
Did you have a camera fear? I mean, was that some hesitancy in you, or you were?
I just had a baby in postpartum. Like, definitely, I hated everything about like how I looked and how it came out. But it ended up being like, I don't care. Like, one, people are gonna see me, so I didn't want to have a super big filter, because I'm like, they're gonna see me like, oh God, like that, 60-year-old agent who has a 20-year-old picture. Like, it doesn't make sense. So I'm like, okay, I'll just have to go with it. And I mean, you can see, like, if you go back far enough, how comfortable I got, because it went from, I'm trying to give you a product I don't even understand or know. Like, if I was trying to sell you a mortgage, Jesus, yes, I know quite a bit, but I should not step into that. That's not my field. So it's just knowing my field and perfecting it. And that's what, like, I had the confidence, because I just talked to the camera as if it was a person. What helped me in the beginning was how the camera's facing a different way. Because I'm not like, oh, my stupid mirror. Like, it's good you didn't let me see.
Yeah. Doing the selfie angle.
Oh, it's bad when you have selfie angle, because you're like, I look dumb. And I also got the humor out of it. Like, we take ourselves way too seriously.
Yes.
Like, people, one, if you want to be like the hello, like, I try to be like, oh, well, I want to be professional. And I'm like, this isn't for that. Like, I think also social media has different stages. Like, I feel that YouTube is like LinkedIn, which apparently I need to work on mine, but I'm going to work on my LinkedIn and my YouTube.
And your YouTube. I haven't brought that subject up yet. But
I'm not offended. I'm not offended. If you guys know anyone who can help me edit YouTubes, I think of YouTube so highly that I want to do it perfect. And that's the problem, where, like, people aren't doing social media because they want it perfect. I just need to do it. And so that's something that I'm trying to,
I wouldn't even edit them. I would just, did you save all the videos you've done so far? Do you have them in, like, an address? I would just load them all onto YouTube.
Okay.
I mean, why? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
this.
all the addresses that if you're walking through a house, is I say time and time again. In fact, I had Jordan and Jacqueline Gallup on, and now their background, they had a little media background and understanding of it, and they've got a video. He said it's 2 years old. It's got 21,000 hits if you go on their YouTube page. But he got a lead from it the other day. The guy told me, I saw your video, and it's a video he did 2 years ago. Yep. And people are Googling, and Google and YouTube are married.
Yep.
It's going to pop up. This podcast will pop up. They Google you after, because this is streaming live to YouTube right now. And probably tomorrow, if you go in and Google yourself, you'll see the live version. Now, eventually I post one with a thumbnail and all that stuff next week, but it's going to pop up. So the video is what they're all telling all the agents. Yep. But I think you hit on the nail on the head. If the girls like, make sure your hair, you look, you want to look presentable. Guys are lucky. We just go for it.
Are you lucky in that way, though?
Well, I don't know. Well, God bless that. They make females attracted to guys that look like us. So, I mean, I don't know. Whatever. God works in mysterious ways. But all the people who know and love you already know your quirks. So when they see you on the video, it doesn't change. It's like we're sitting right here, and if you and I, we'd had numerous conversations. Every time, you like to sit the way you sit or whatever. I mean, that's just the way you are. That's the way you are. So people don't even think about it a lot of times, but your brain is actually retaining it, and it's retaining it through the video as well, just as as clearly as even us just sitting right here. So, but to Google you and see you on the video, being natural, and I think Jordan and Jacqueline said it very clearly. People, because you're being authentic, because you were talking about that in that podcast, being authentic, being you, they are creating a relationship with you, and they haven't even met you yet.
Yep.
Because they're watching you in your videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like even it goes beyond videos. Like even when you meet people, but the bridal shows, when I talk to the people, I'm like, hey, let's have a meeting. We'll get down. I'm their best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Like they already know me, and I'm like, I had a TikTok size conversation with you. Like we literally had a 3 set, and it just like being authentic. You connect with someone so deeply that like those brides and groups think they've known me for years, and it's just I met them for 30 seconds maybe.
The same anxiety that people have to get in front of the video often have the same anxiety when they're meeting someone new.
Yeah.
Right. You've got clients coming in. You don't even know what they look like. They're coming, even if they're coming into you're blessed. They're coming in your office, or maybe you're meeting at a coffee shop. Let alone if you meet them at a house and you don't even know what they look like yet. Right. You shouldn't be doing that. But hopefully you forewarned them, right? With the forewarned with Florida Realty, right? But if they're watching the video, when they approach you, are different because they have the same anxiety. They're like, what's this agent going to be like? This is going to be one of these agents that's got this card that makes them look like a Jaguar cheerleader from 15 years ago, but now they, right? They got to they don't know. And I mean, there's a lot of times, I mean, I brought in a lot of agents. I've seen their cards, seen their stuff on social media, and they got the glamour shot thing going on, and that's great. But then when they walk in here, I'm like, okay, is that?
Oh, it's happened to me. We're like, I thought we had a new agent. I was like, hi, nice to meet you. And they were like one of our top agents. I was like, God, I did not recognize you. I was like, no offense. You
hadn't seen them in a while. And
I've never met them in person.
Oh, never met them in person.
So I was like, oh, you look so different.
Yeah, so if you're doing regular video, the people are building this relationship with you. And I think if you want to get somewhere quicker and as far as the relationship is going, that's the ticket.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, because they'll just open up to you. Because when you start asking those more sensitive questions, if they've been watching your videos, they should already know this is coming, right? Yeah. In a way, in shape or form. All right. So the first year you said you didn't go to the brokerage your friend was at.
No, I didn't. The one who told me to get into real estate, I didn't follow him.
Which is odd, but what chose you? How did you choose your first brokerage?
I actually met a mom friend, and we met. I told her I was getting my real estate license. Funny enough, she was a real estate agent, and her mom ran a brokerage. And I was like, "Do you know what?" And I was like, "Can I have my daughter there?" That's all I cared about. Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Yeah, bring her to meetings," because she just had a baby. Literally, I think our kids are 2 days apart, and so we just brought our kids to trainings. And the fact that I could, rather than the brokerage my friend was at, was not allowing it. I'd be gone for 8 weeks in training. And I'm like, I can't, I just had a baby. Like, crazy. And so I was having separation anxiety, and I was also still serving tables. So I didn't have the flexibility. Like, I had to be serving tables at 4:00.
Right.
For early bird special. And so like all these, and so I just had to be there. And that was just the season I was in, and it worked for it.
So not a lot of, you didn't like go out. I mean, it sounds like you had talked to some agents, but it was more the convenience of that was more a priority than actually researching deeply. I mean, again, one of your girlfriends wants to get into real estate. How important is it? We talked about on the coattails, getting a mentor or someone like that, but going out and investigating, talking to agents that, not just the brokers, the people say all the time, basically it's like you're interviewing someone, two people lying to each other, right? The broker's telling you how great it is. They got technology and education. Everyone has that. Okay. Yeah. How are they actually working, and talking to the agents? And is this how you want to do your business? Even though they don't really know how they're going to do their business just yet, but they, I think personalities like minds attract. Yep. Type of thing. So, I mean, if you were, again, talking to your girlfriend, how important would you say, hey, you need to go out and you need to probably talk to 4 or 5 different, not even brokers, but 4 or 5 agents as well that match up with those brokers, so that you can confirm what the broker's telling you is actually what's being delivered.
And so I did interview like 3. One I knew I didn't want to go to, because way before I got my license, my husband was planning on getting it. And I was like, I do this better. And here we are. But he's great. He's handling our insurance. He's doing what he needs to do.
Right.
But I interviewed a couple. He already interviewed a few for me that I did not want to. I'm like, I don't want to be a part of that. I'm sorry. Just not what I'm interested in. and not where I wanted to be as an agent without knowing. I would 100%, like, I tell them each time, because they're like, of course, people would meet me. They're like, I want to be like you. I want to come to Momentum. John and Brittany know. If I think that they're not Momentum, I'm going to say, I don't know if that's the best start for you. For new agents, I mean, it is hard, because, like, picking a brokerage that'll help you get to the level of actually jumping off, that's what's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so making sure you find the right one that fits, because, like, there are some that are great that help a lot of new agents. I don't want to market like that. Like, I'm not a cold caller, so I probably wouldn't work at a few brokerages I could think of. Like, I'm not going to cold call anyone. I'm not a call center. So it doesn't work like that. So it wouldn't ever work. And then what was hard is in the beginning.
So digging into what their ideology is, because everyone has, like, we all talked to what are the basics things you can do as a real estate agent, like knock on doors, cold call. I mean, the list is, pretty standard there. Finding out what are they doing.
Yep.
Is that their mentality at this ex brokerage over here? They want everyone to cold call.
And who are their top agents? And how did their top agents get there? Like, there's so many questions now. Of course, now it looks different as, like, moving up in the industry, without tooting my horn, but moving up in the industry, like, what am I looking for? I'm looking at top agents. When top agents leave our brokerage, I immediately call them.
What happened? Yeah.
Why did you leave? What value do you not see here that you see there?
Right.
What is it? And call me.
What
in
did I
90
miss?
Days. Am I missing something in my business that you feel is important for yours?
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, I call them after like 60, 90 days. I'm like, how's it going? And they're like, and I was like, oh. And they're like, it set back my business because I had to learn X, Y, Z. I'm like, I ain't got time for that. Yeah. And so it's just kind of like realizing which ones have what to offer.
What do you find in some of those conversations was like one of the main reasons? Was it splits, or what is there? Was there a common theme in some of those people that you've talked to?
A couple were money.
Yeah.
Like, but it's funny because then they'd switch to another brokerage that took more money, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And then other ones were just like, they had a different vision than my broker did. And I was like, okay, that's perfectly fine. That makes sense. Yeah. Or they were a team and they wanted less of like something, or they wanted more technology, all this different stuff, or more. I know one agent left and I almost I wanted the bells and the whistles of the pretty little books that are so fancy and all this stuff. Like, it definitely drew me in because I'm so marketing forward and I like to do these big presentations and everything. And so it's like, that's attractive. But I'm like, but how much would it be if I did it? And I started calculating. I was like, that ain't worth that split. So it's just, for me, it's money. Yeah. Because I'm like, where's going to give me more money? Like, I already make good money.
Well.
Or lead gen, people care about too. That's a big reason people leave.
Because you just contradicted your bio, but.
It's fine. Go ahead. That I don't care about
on the money part.
So it's my husband's mindset.
Yeah.
That I just follow. Because it is like.
Well, you come to an age of where you're at in your careers. Now, the new person that we're saying, hey, you need to go find a brokerage that really caters and can really take you off the ground, because this is where you're at as far as your real estate, mentality, educate, whatever level you're on the ground. So you need to go. And there's obviously a couple of national brokerages here, and regional brokerages that really cater to that, and their whole plan, and they've got trainers that are there to be there for them all the time, where I wouldn't say Momentum's you're not going to call Momentum a boutique brokerage because he's got hundreds of agents, but it's still John's not spending money on hiring a trainer and paying the salary for this person because he's not bringing on 20 fresh out of licensing agents every month to put them through these through the steps. If you were doing that, you would need that full-time trainer doing that.
Correct.
So Momentum again might not be perfect for that brand new agent coming out unless they're riding someone's coattails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. You touched on, there's two things I want to. Since you just mentioned it, the fancy presentation.
Yes.
What do you do? What have you discovered in your years in trial and error? Do you need the fancy booklet and all that type of thing? because now listing appointments, you guys are competing a lot for listing appointments
Yes.
right now, because listings are rising, inventory is being on there. Customers are, it's not so, yeah, you got to answer the phone. That is a number one, but a lot of them aren't calling you saying, hey, I found a property. I need you to go and make an offer for me. You're having to actually earn their, show a little more value.
Correct.
So what do you do yourself? Some people believe in the fancy booklet. What's your thought?
I love the fancy book with the hardcover and all that. Looks like a child book. It's beautiful. It just, and I'm not going to stop loving it. Maybe one day I'll do it and I'll print it and it'll be like a Demi Judd version. I've just made my own and printed my own. Like I have two different, I print everything out because I want people to have it. I actually drop these off the day before my listing appointment because I want them to read it. I don't want them to be in my presentation when I'm trying to see what their house looks like and spending an hour going through my book. So I'd rather have that conversation, and they already know my compensation and everything like that.
First YouTube video right here. Go ahead.
And so when I drop off the thing, I don't want to give away too many tips. I do use my past into like what I do for my presentation. So my presentations are very Demi, like 100%. But I do that for my sellers, and so they have the box. They kind of have a little whole entire little get together in that.
Are you a Krista Mashore? Do you follow Krista Mashore?
I don't.
Okay, you ought to look her up. You ought to look her up on Instagram. Yeah.
Okay.
I had her on the show. She's out in California, but she has the whole process, but she's a big funnel person. So, she markets these certain neighborhoods, farms them. Anyone that's searching, boom, she's popping up. They're clicking on it and obviously going into a funnel to get their information. But she also does the boxes, kind of like I think LPT is doing that now, where you actually drop off this, attractive box in there. Krista actually has a book which you can insert your name and personality into and make it look like it's yours. Oh. And yeah,
I might have, because that sounds familiar, the book part. Yeah. And then, so I do that, but then for my buyers, I've just created a bunch of guides of questions. So I have a relocation guide. I have a new construction guide. I have a buyer's guide. I have how to sell your home and buy a home at the same time. Like I just created a ton of marketing product when I had nothing to do as an agent. And I was like, now I fix it because it's, school zones change all the time. So it's just like updating on what's going on. But my main thing was like, how can I provide value that is different from another agent? Because when you're online and you're on social media, everyone's just like, I need an agent. The amount of business cards I see, like I want to throw hands with some agents that I'm like, that's how you're going to market yourself, as a business card. And so I've even my buyer's agent home training, like I was like, do not just put your information or just tag yourself. And I was like, don't do that. No one cares. And I was like, add value. Show that you can already answer a question that they're asking or have not asked yet. And so now, instead of just saying like, hey, Demi Judd is a great real estate agent, you should do all of that, just say, hey, by the way, we have some resources and tools that have really helped a lot of out-of-state buyers. Here's the current schools that are coming to the area if a school was a question. Right. And then it links to my blog, to my website, and then I capture their information from my website. But providing the value is 100%. And even I have the guides that I have, the relocation guides. Now, instead of just, oh, here's my guide, I'm like, hey, I really think we should have a conversation. There's a couple things in the guides. I just want to make sure you fully understand about St. John's, and I can answer questions that may not be in it. And then I have a consultation. And 9 times out of 10,
how many of them you find? And it's important that anyone listening, I'm asking this question. We know a lot of people are not actually reading that before they meet you the next day. Yeah, I mean, there's a good percentage. Yeah. I don't know, whatever it is, but we know just people aren't into reading long form. I mean, they don't get newspapers anymore, right? That's why I was saying your first YouTube video should be a video of your guide. Yeah. Because they will get the physical guide in their hand, which is good that they have something physical in their hand. They feel there's something there, right? They got their hands on it. But if you put the YouTube link or QR code where they click that and go to your YouTube, where you're actually going through the guide. Now maybe just a generic guide of the but now they're going, oh on page 10 she's talking about schools. Oh, I need to go and look at that. Yep. That would be my recommendation to you. This is a thought that just came to my head. Here, click the QR code. I'm going through that guide of what's in it. you may never read it, but if I mention something that's really good, your guide is
You might
actually
go
tailored to what you're looking to, do, your neighborhood that you're looking at or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Because I think, again, if people, they would rather just, I see my wife had to get something fixed on the car or something, or even there was something wrong with my mirror on the car. I just go on YouTube and I put in 2019 Dodge Ram mirror not working. Boom, there's something there. People are more apt to do that than if I actually had this, hey, here's this 20-page PDF on how to fix that. They're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, scroll to what you need.
Yeah, who opens the owner's manuals anymore in the cars, right? It's all on video now. Yeah.
Couldn't tell you where mine was.
Yeah. That's probably why my wife couldn't find hers the other day. I bet you it wouldn't doubt it if Volvo just put them on video, because no one
QR code per item. They just put QR codes on the items.
It's easier to search in the video as well. You can get right to what they want. You know, so sitting there flipping the page, but that I think I would be the first YouTube video for you. That was just a thought that came to my head. I want to go back to. Because you were talking a lot with teams, and again, your goal. You said you brought on a buyer's agent and so forth. Different people, leaders, people have been doing this for 20 years. I've heard a lot. Obviously talked to over 200 top agents, brokers, and everyone has a little different idea of who should be the first person. When you started hitting your lid. Is what I call it from John Maxwell. He talks about hitting your lid, like, hey, I can't take on any more customers. I need help. What were some of the advice? I assume you searched out some advice. What worked for you?
Like how I found my person?
Well, no, just what was some of the advice that you got on what should be to help you relieve you of some of these chores that are required. A lot of people don't see they're under the surface, but there's a lot of back office stuff that needs to be done, or like I said, sitting open houses and whatever it may be. What were some of the things that people told you to do, and then what did you end up doing?
Yeah, perfect, because they're two different things.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, since I even joined, and when I left my team about 3 months after I joined Momentum, and I went on my own in the summer of 22, and I talked to John, and John's like, you need to leverage. And I was like, how do I leverage? Like, I don't have new business.
So you had been working solo up until going to Momentum.
No, so I was a part of a team. I switched with my previous team to Momentum in April, and then I left in June, and I went on my own in June.
All right, so let me step back. Let's so we get a little more chronological order here. Okay. What was your experience on the team? What did you take from that? What did you go, I'm not going to do it that way?
So I would say, people have different feelings towards teams, and like when they leave teams. Mine took some growth to have the response I have today. 100%. I would not be where I am.
Were you on a fairly newish team that was being created, or were you?
It was an established, it was more like a 2 to 3 person team before I joined on. And then it just kind of, I was like, hey, I saw an agent who was succeeding, and I was like, I want to be like you.
Right.
And I immediately, I was just like, just teach me social media. Let's go. And, so I guess you would almost say I tried to ride someone's coattail, but I never used their success for it. I was just like, how do I do it? Like Demi. And I joined, and I learned that NEFAR contract in and out, which I'm very upset.
I may call this episode the Demi way, but go ahead.
Okay, I don't mind that. Oh no, everyone's going to follow. But when I met with them, I was just like, this is what I want to do. I sat down. I know that NEFAR contract in and out. I'm very upset that it's going away because I knew it's so good. I got taught for hours about how to negotiate, how to do things, how to put on a listing. They gave me my first buyer and walked me through the process. So I had a lot of support, and then the team started growing, and it just, I feel like when we switched brokerages, kind of the vision changed for the team.
The whole team's
vision changed.
The whole team moved brokerages.
Okay. We had by that time, we had about 6 people, and we moved over. And it just was a lot of changing in seasons. one of my team leads was having a baby. And so like that was a lot. And she was very sick from like being pregnant. And then my other team lead, like, you know, had to control 6 girls. And so it's just like, it's a lot. And all of us were in different places. And so, it was just really difficult. So I was just like,
you had like from very green agent to someone experienced could just do it on their own if they want. It didn't need to, from the different levels and everything in between. So that's interesting topic there when building a team. When you got everyone at multiple levels, that's 6 different plates that you're spinning because they're different, seasons of their career.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it was definitely, some just started like going different ways or going to different brokerages. Like they just started making their decisions because it just got to the point where it's like, no one had the same vision anymore. And that's what was so important, to continue the vision. And I met with John and Brittany and I was like, what if I went on my own? And I was like, I don't know if I can make it. And I was like, but it's like one of those things where it's like, if I even told my team lead this, I was like, I think I'm going to go my own way. If this is not what I'm supposed to do and I completely fail, I will be more than happy to come back with my tail behind my legs. And that's just what happened. And I was like, but if I don't, I think I just need to try though. And took the leap. The next month, I was top agent at my brokerage.
Well, so the mastermind that was out on Friday, and we were talking about teams. I mean, and for some reason, whatever reason, this particular topic didn't come up. But I think it's very interesting. You just brought it up. If you think you want a team of agents, and they are all at different seasons of their career, you're spinning 6 different plates. And in your case, all of a sudden you become, that even though this is not the full part of the jack of all trades, master of none, you're jack of 6 people, but mastering none of them because you're mastering the value in them. Because as any brokerage or any team, if you're not adding value as the team lead in there, or they don't see value, maybe the team, circulates around themselves and that's where the value is. If the value is no longer there, they're going to spin off. And that is a huge challenge for retention. And we were talking about John earlier, how, John and Brittany are so brilliant. And John's always out there searching, to just bring you guys something new and different and keep you guys. That's the value he adds, being an active owner of the brokerage. All right. So you go over there. What is your business like at that point? Are you at a lid, or all of a sudden you just ramp up real quick and you hit a lid?
Ramp up. Like I went from like, oh my gosh, like nothing. Because by this time that I left, I only have closed 2 deals. One was handed to me. One I found on social media. The lady was selling her furniture, and I was like, hey, if you need anything, like I felt like it was a divorce situation. She loved me. I ended up listing her house. And so like it was just like that's where I realized the power of social media, and I was like, ooh. Okay. And literally just popped off. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, okay, but I'm not there yet. So I went through the rest of 22 and I was like, let's see what I could do. I want to cap. They have like a send program at Momentum for new agents. And I was like, if I could make that, I'll feel good. Well, I did. And I was like, sweet. And I was like, but I want to be in the top 500. And I was like, that's my goal, which I did. And
I mean, Jack's real producer. Is that what you're talking about? Top 500? Yeah.
And so I really wanted to be able to, be up there in my numbers, and like I wanted to be one of the big ones that people looked up to. And then it literally was organically happening. The way I can actually fully say, I even had to like verify this morning. I've never bought a lead ever. I've never, not Zillow, not even the Mojo dialer that we were doing, because I sucked at it. But I didn't actually. I just literally made it a joke because I can't cold call. I get offended when they hang up on me. And but and then from producing and creating content online, which I'm sure if I popped off my YouTube, it would even be different. It's more of, I talked to John. We saw what I did last year and what I was heading towards and what I'm heading towards this year. And he's like, you're going to burn out or you're going to cap out. And he's like, you need to pick this up. And I was like, okay. And he's like, you need to hire before you're ready. And now, like, having her a part of me.
This is the brilliance of John. I mean, I give him credit. I probably should have him back on the show,
Yeah.
but I don't think enough brokers are doing that right there.
Yeah.
For looking at you, just like, if you were one of his employees, in looking at you where you're at and seeing your trend. because knowing him in this, he's all about numbers and so forth like that. As brilliant as he is, he's looking at trends. I guarantee it, and he's seeing you trending up at that time.
I remember when I called him when I was leaving, I was sobbing when I did leave my team. Like I was like, I would suck. Like because I still had like that 9 to 5 mentality. Like I work for someone. And he's like, you're a business owner. Like you're good. He's like, you're going to kill it. And like, it was cool. Like I've been so blessed with people who have seen it in me because I have huge imposter syndrome. And people are just like, you're killing it. And I was like, it's fake. And like, just to now be like, I finally am like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing it. And now I do need people. And, I should have, and I wish I would have listened before. Because even though I have her now, I hired her back in February. I needed her last year because of where this year's heading. And so I really held myself up by not hiring faster.
I think there's so many. So you mentioned Jack's Real Producers. If you make Jack's Real Producers, you're hitting the lid. If you don't already have help at that time. So if you're being invited to one of those cocktail parties quarterly, or being featured in the magazine, whatever, you're getting notified that you're made Kristen's list. You are maxing your time out if you do not have help at that moment in time. Yep. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm blessed and terrified at the same time because I've been very fortunate that each year I've doubled my year. Well, my year last year I finished out at the end of June, and I'm like, I literally kicked my butt for that last year, and now I did it halfway through the year. Like, that just shows, like, I need to hire, and I need people, and I need leverage. But, like you said, like, what are things that you need to learn? I didn't have back end done. Like, all the back end of real estate, I didn't know what a P&L was, like, until, like, I had my coach. And she's like, I'm sorry, what? And I was like, my CPA hates me. Like, we're not friends right now. But she's great, but I had nothing. And I was like, I was told 3 to 5 years that'll happen. And I was like, it didn't happen in 3 to 5 years. It happened in less than 3. And so how do I basically still keep my momentum, no pun intended, but still keep my momentum for like business and naturally having it, like it's crazy how natural it has happened. Like, it's one of those things where you're like, you really feel like the puzzle piece fit. Because, like, I got...
All of a sudden, you find that one piece that leads you to the rest of the puzzle, right?
Yeah, where you're like, this is the rest of it. And so it's crazy to see, like, how everything has fallen into place. But, yeah, I did not have that end. And I wish I was, like, asking my husband, I was like, do you want to do this on the side?
All right, so let's... I know you brought the coach in since last August, because when I remember you on that other podcast, you didn't have a coach at that time.
Yeah, she's new.
Yeah. So you come on with John. He says, hey, you need to do something. So again, what were some of the things that they told you? Assistant, transaction coordinator, marketing person, another partner up with another agent. I imagine all those things you heard.
Yep.
Right. What did you decide to do?
I had a TC. I love my TC. I actually hired their TC because I'm like, okay, you guys handle.
So is that a pay for play? I call it pay for play, but pay for transaction.
Yeah, per transaction, and she's amazing. And it's been great. She's very Demi, and I love it. I actually have 2 just in case I get too crazy.
Very Demi. I don't know.
She's very Demi.
I'm gotta come up with a title for this podcast.
But she was great, and I love her. So I have 2 of them just in case I get too crazy. But and then who else I hired?
You have a main transaction coordinator, and then
I have a backup.
You have a backup because they're pay for play. They're getting business from other agents. They may get full.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Or I mean, even technically, I've been counting on clientele. I know that sounds really silly, but I'm like, okay, if this is a quick and easy transaction, I actually do it. I do it price point, and that's how I'm like, okay, this is what this is gonna like, because I have higher end clients, and I'm like, okay, they're gonna need a Demi, and so I'm like, okay, there, you have her. You have me.
Right.
There it is.
Well, there's a lot of the agents, have several mortgage loan officers, depending on who they're talking to, with different personalities.
Correct. Like, I have some clients who are like, I only work with XYZ. Like, I want them to have a family. I want them to have, like, really? And I was like, you're very picky. Like, I was like,
yeah, that is a little.
Whatever you need. And I haven't had, like, a specific sports team they're requesting, though, yet. So I'm waiting for that one. Like, they have to like the Jags. So I'm like, okay. But I mean, I should have. There's some people like I should have hired my coach fast enough. I could not. I made the mistake because I was being told one thing in my ear at home, and then one thing from like real estate that definitely get a coach, don't get a coach, and so it was just like two really hard things.
Are you doing one-on-one coaching or groups?
One-on-one.
One-on-one.
Yep.
How long you been doing it now?
For about 2 months.
Okay, so you're probably still in the they're digging into your business a little bit, or at least for most of these first 2 months. How often? Once a week or every other week?
Once a week.
Once a week.
Yep.
So they're digging into your business. So tell us what brought you to the point of wanting making the jump and actually hiring a coach.
It was the fact that I just felt like I have so many opportunities in real estate that I didn't know what direction to go, because I was told from like, oh, definitely have a team, and I'm like, God, this is miserable. And then like another, because I've been through a team, one of them that didn't succeed, one of them that kind of took on a
and that team is a broad word,
a very broad word. And like, because like even technically, like my coach was like, you have a team, you have a TC, and you have a buyer's agent, you have a team. And I was like,
yeah.
And she's like, you just have weird.
The Judsters. That's what you should call them.
That's funny. But like, I just didn't know what to do. And so I was like, she's like, what do you like about it? Like, what do you want to do? And so like, I always kept going back to, I want to coach, but I've never had a coach. How can you? It's like me saying, I'm going to go coach the Jags. We would have the worst losing season ever. And you think it could be worse? It could. It wouldn't be good. I'd encourage the heck out of them though. I'd be like, we're losing great. I wanted to make sure that I knew how to do it properly, and I thought I was crazy. I was like, is this what I want? Like, let me hear from her, like, what my passions are and what I want to do, and then, like, really having that advice.
You need that because your broker themselves, typically, especially Momentum and being as large as they are, it's very difficult. I mean, let alone John looking at you and, hey, you're trending up, you need to hire somebody. That's what a broker should be doing. Because he sees where you're at, and he foreshadowed, into the coach part. It's hard for them to be a coach the coach can only handle so many, because they're digging deep into you. Yeah. And if they're focused on you, they can't, they're going to miss a lot of other people out there. So to bring that other person, it gives you that 30,000 foot level of what's going on. And how did you decide on this coach? If you want to mention their name, it's totally up to you. How did you get some recommendations? How did you decide that this was the coach for you?
I did Tom Ferry coaching.
Okay.
I just went ahead and pulled the trigger because like I had a bunch of advice. John and Brittany, like I thought about doing their coach, but I'm like, I just run my business differently than they do. And so like, I'm not going to match that. And so I was like, okay, well, I could just start off from ground level and I'll just do Tom Ferry coaching because my friend does it. He's very successful. He's the one who told me to be in real estate. I was like, if it worked for him.
I've got an idea, but I'm not going to say it on air because someone's going to steal it. But it's going to relate to this. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Write it down.
I'm writing it down.
But I was like, I really do want to do this. And even they linked me up with a coach that I was like, my main thing, do not tell me to build a team. Like I was so saucy about it. I was like, don't tell me to build a team. Because that's what everyone was telling me. And I was like, please stop. Like, if that's what it ends up being, cool. Again.
Do you really want to babysit real estate agents? I mean, I'm using that term loosely, babysit, but I mean.
So I have a buyer's agent right now. She's great. She's awesome. But there is times when I'm just like, I'm seeing the difference when I'm having her as a team member, as a buyer's agent. I'm like, you didn't do X, Y, Z, so why should I do this? So it's a different, like, why should I give you my business? Because you're not taking your business seriously, right. Which no, it's just, we're in different levels and that's okay. But mentoring, I'm like, hey, I'm helping guide you. It's your business at the end of the day. I'm not giving you my business to make yours successful. I'm giving you the tools and the resources of how you can make it happen for you. And so that's like, I was like, I love that. Like the agents who I've been able to have these niche workshops with.
So it's more of a two agents getting together. You cover her, she covers you. So you can go on vacation or go home at night. It's something comes up. You're covering each other, so you have that peace of mind.
Yep.
You go out of town, they can look at your emails. Let you know if there's actually something important there, and that sort of thing. And that was one of the things they talked about at the mastermind is just partnering up with another agent where you just commit, and then you don't even have to be in the same brokerage. That you just have each other's back, and you're licensed agents. And if someone says, "Hey, I need to go see a house right now," and you're over at Disney World.
Yeah. And I have a really good friend, Caitlin, who I mentioned earlier. Like, she's amazing, and she's out of town this next weekend, and she's having a listing go live. So I'm going to Staples and picking it up. I'm doing the open houses as if I was her. Like, so I'm her during that weekend, and having that relationship with another agent, which is so weird because it was very taboo when I started. Like, oh, you can't be. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I've shared my guides with her, and I was like, it's fine. Your clients are going to want you because she's complete. I don't know if you know the DISC course. She's my complete. I'm a DI, very high. And she's an SC, and that's just what she is. And so, like, we balance each other really well because I'll blow up. I'm like, can you believe this? And she'll be like, but have you thought about it in this perspective? And I was like, no. Like, I'll call you in 5 minutes. So it's just having those relationships and those partnerships and those friendships that really you have that help. 10 out of 10.
With the coach so far, just 2 months, have you had an aha moment? Like
yeah,
they brought up something and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about this?" And you're like, "Oh my God, I know." What aha moment did you have that you're like, "Wow"?
The imposter problem that I have is just like, one, you've made it, Demi, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. What does that mean? And so, like, where do I go from here? And like I'm like, yeah, I do want to coach. And she's like, you need to start doing whatever goes towards that. I was like, I don't have enough experience. And she's like, what number in sales do you need to do till you understand you made it? And I was like, nothing's enough. And like, I'm so competitive. I'm such a high achiever that like, I literally think I could do like 20 million in sales a year. And I'd be like, didn't do enough. I could have done more. And like, it's just the way that my personality, which is great.
Yeah.
But also it can get overbearing. Like, when does it stop? For my family not existing. But she was really like, you just need to do it. And so I've been helping some agents and meeting with them, doing niche workshops with them, and talking to them about like, hey, this works. And my friends have noticed I've been doing it to them nonchalantly, like, hey, like, have you, and like kind of like talking to them as a coach.
Right.
And they're like, I know what you're doing. And I was like, I'm practicing. How is it? so it's just like making well, if
this person's triggered thoughts in your head.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at other agents with the same question, the same questions they're asking you and digging you, and you're digging into your going and analyzing what you're doing. You're starting to analyze everybody else and what they're doing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that's been a huge help. And then also I have a P&L sheet now. I have all these apps to help me figure all that out. So really getting like my guts of my real estate done well. I feel like I wasn't really nurturing them. The outside looked great.
Right.
But I definitely, like, she's like, oh my gosh.
Well, I know John talks a lot about working smarter, not harder, and maybe you do less production, but obviously keep more money in your pocket if you're doing it right. And the only way to know that is having the proper P&L and where you're spending your money at. Because as you know, I think 99% of the agents out there, they get this huge check, it flows in, they pay a bunch of bills, and then they spend on the next listing, or whatever their things are, not really actually evaluating, keeping within some industry norms like Tom Ferry would probably coach to, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so but yeah, that's the advice so far that I've taken. And like also like my Google business page, and like just tips where I'm just like, what? Because these are what I liked about the culture of the Tom Ferry is that these are top agents not only from my area, it's top agents all across the world. Yeah. And so I'm just like, oh. And so there's like experts with Google that are like, hey, your Google business page do this, this, and this. And I'm like, you're freaking kidding me? I could do that? Like, that was just so cool. And so it's like, I never even thought like that was possible. Or things on Instagram, like now I have on my Instagram like what the topics are, and they're like, how would I know what I'm clicking on? I was like,
the world's moving so fast with the technology. AI's out, and that's all we're scrolling through, and everyone, you need to get an AI or you're gonna get lost behind. Well, before we know it, everything that we that we do is going to have AI generated behind it. It's not that I don't believe there is, that people need to like, I don't know, there's courses out there you can take because you can really go in chat GPT. Carrie, Carrie, I apologize. Last name starts with Swap. She was on a podcast not 2 months ago, but she's AXP's AI consultant. She is an agent as well, but she's dedicated herself. Now she's going to chat GPTs and creating GPTs for real estate. And there's a conference in September in Niagara, which I'd really like to go because it's a great time to go up there and cool off in September in Niagara. But it's all about real estate and AI. But there's a lot of these things that you could set up. But I think before we know it, all these companies, all the things, everything we're using, the CRMs, all the different things, they're all going to be using some level of AI behind them. It's not that you need to go out there and learn, get a degree in artificial intelligence. It's just going to be part of everything we're using because those companies are out there that are selling that stuff to us so they're going to be competitive. They have to use AI.
Yep.
Period. So you're going to use it no matter whether you realize it or not. Mm-hmm. It's there. But we can get distracted by all these things and what should we be doing on Instagram to take time and have that coach and say, okay, by next week, you're going to do this to, get your Google business page. Because once LinkedIn is set up, once Google business page is set up, there's not much you do to it. Mm-hmm. Even on a yearly basis, it's there. That's and you roll. You may add some content to it by throwing some articles on there. Yeah. But I think we get caught up and I'm notorious. I know this because I am guilty of it as anyone else. All of a sudden we get a paralysis or we get distracted. We do a little bit over here and a little bit over here, but never actually finish what we were doing over there.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I'm going to wrap this up. You said something, I just wrote it down. I don't know if this is an exact quote from that podcast, but I was like, I'm going to dig deep on this because I like going in this area. Finding you in the industry.
Yes.
You remember saying that?
Yes.
Yes. Explain that.
Like just finding your own spot. Like everyone has their own spot. Everyone has their own clientele. I mean, when I was a wedding planner, people didn't want to work with my boss sometimes. They wanted to work with me. And so it's just you're selling you. Like how can you brand your real estate? Like people knew that like I was the guide person. Now everyone's having guides, which is perfectly fine. I'm the original, but I mean, I'll give you guys credit. But no, it just the guides like just it made me that people knew I was like a resource. And so or they know that people like I'm funny, I'm gonna be lighthearted about it. People know I'm mainly relocation, like kind of like branding yourself. And branding yourself is important. Like I make sure that one, like people understand that I'm gonna be there through the entire thing, setting expectations, but just be you in the industry is the main thing. It's just people know who they're getting. They know the product. Know your product. If you don't know who you are and who you want to be in this industry, like you need to do some soul searching because every agent's the same. Just like how I was saying on the thing where they're like, oh, I put my business card.
Or they think every agent's the same. I mean,
they do.
It looks like it on the bookshelf. You're all the same until you actually reach and open the book.
Yeah. And some books are blank. That's the thing with like even back to like a little bit of the coaching. Like I want to help. I can't change an industry. There's an industry issue that's a whole different thing. But I can change a life of an agent. And so like having buyers, and I think with the new lawsuit coming up, are really going to be what quality do you add? What value do you actually add to me? Because now they're paying for the quality. Possibly, we'll find out. But now they have to pay for it. So it's just like I feel like there's going to be a level of expectation of how it should be, and you need to be and know your product, and you should know yourself and or what self you want to sell, because people are going to start looking for that more than just like, oh, you just sell it, you just open doors. Awesome. Don't let them believe that, because my clients know I do more than open doors. They know that I'm like new construction. I'm there almost bi-weekly until that's closed. That house is my house. People know that is I am them while they're gone. And I think that helped with wedding planning, that I was the bride. So I step into that role as I am your home coordinator. Like I'm your homemaker. I make this happen until you own it. And when your deed's on your name's on the deed, we're good. Like I step away, but I'm
Your
still your
job,
physician.
your job as a wedding planner is to make sure there's nothing on that runway, that it's a clear path.
Yep.
And you're going to tell them that it's 20 steps to the altar. And when you leave here, the limo is going to be right here at this moment in time. You're coordinating all that and foreshadowing, going through that with them. And you're doing the same thing with your clients. You're setting expectations. You're going out and cleaning garages out, after someone moved out, all the things you guys do. I wish I'm sure there's a video out there, but these are videos that need to be brought out.
I want to make like a horror, like, maybe during Halloween I'll do it. Like the scariest things I've been through real estate.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's been wild.
You wait 6 months after you take the pictures and post it. That way, the people that
They won't know what house
they're not. You're done working with them, or type of thing. But these are the things that I think that they're going to bring out with the lawsuit is raising the awareness. But that goes back to you. I could say I was just thinking about your YouTube page that you need to start working on, because this is. But a lot of agents are like you said, how do they? Use the term brand. You are the brand, and you don't know you don't really care what house is, as long as they want that house. It's their choice. That's the house they want. You're going to help them make that transaction. You're not selling a house. You are selling you ultimately in the course of the day to gain 100%. The business. Then you're guiding them to the house. You're selling them your professionalism, your knowledge, like you said, your due diligence, all those things. That's what you're actually selling.
Yep. And the product has to be cohesive later. So like, I feel like what some agents do is they're like stellar agents. Closing table, peace out. My clients, like I have client events. I have events. There's a VIP page. Like everyone, like my brand continues. It's kind of like Coke. Like I want everyone to know my name everywhere they turn. So I want to be first name.
No, you're 100%. And every great agent that I've had on talks about it's you go through that initial battle, but now it's how can that one, because now you just marketed yourself. You just showed them all the things that I just mentioned listed off there. Now it's like, how can I stay top of mind? So they love me. Now they're going to tell hopefully 2 or 3 other people.
Yeah. Or it's their time to actually be your friend. Like I tell people, like, now we're friends. Like now we get to actually, like, I've done pedicures with people. Like I've gone out with the moms and like just like been real. And they're like, gosh, they're like, this is, I was like, I can say anything now. Right. I was like, until we're under contract again, I am free.
Well, you've had a lot of those frank conversations, about the subject property, but anything you want to add to wrap it up here?
No, just 100% be yourself. When I start coaching, if you guys are interested, let me know. But really just be yourself. And it's hard not to be in an imposter syndrome, but like really listen to those around you. Like the people who are around you are going to tell you the most honest. So I really picked 3 people I really trust. And I was like, tell me if you were to have to describe me in 3 words. And that's what really started helping me, because it was less about how
finding
I see
you.
myself.
And we're going back to the finding you thing. Yeah.
Because people know who you are. And I've had clients like, how was your experience? Tell me in 3 words. And like, I'm like, put that in a Google review. But then like really to know like who you are by who people around you are saying you are too. And maybe you might hear some words you might need to learn.